Today we will debunk one of the biggest myths in cybersecurity, and that is that patching is a solution. Welcome to Threat Talks. My name is Lieuwe Koning, and here from headquarters at OnToIt, we bring you the next episode of Threat Talks. And the subject of today is about the patching strategy. What works, what doesn't work, and what should you really do? Let's get on to it.
Welcome to Threat Talks. Let's delve deep into the dynamic world of cybersecurity.
Let me introduce our guest of today. He is a returning guest, so we see him a lot. His name is Maas. He's the field CTO of OnToIt, and his job is to make sure that everything works, stays working, and doesn't get hacked. Not just for us, but for all our customers as well. So Rob, welcome. Patch management comes up a lot, huh? And we get a lot of questions and a lot of misconceptions always. So it's about time we talk a little bit about that and to what extent is patching a solution. Because sometimes we get the feeling that patching, if you don't do patching, is like the holy grail, the silver bullet, and as long as you patch, then everything is going to be fine.
Yeah, a lot of people tend to believe that they should patch everything and always and immediately. Which definitely is not true and is not even possible.
Yeah, so let's start with the first reality check, and that is actually that the majority of systems can't even be patched. Can you elaborate on that?
It depends a bit on your organization, but a lot of systems cannot be patched. So hospitals, healthcare have a lot of systems that have been built to last 10, 20 or even longer in years. So look at your MRI systems, for example, MRI scanners. They often cannot be patched, or they only will be patched for the first year or the first 2-3 years, but then it stops. So then you also have the legacy systems that no vendor support, that cannot be patched or only can be patched, and then you lose your complete support if things break. You have your, of course, OT systems, which, well, maybe you can patch them, but have a big impact. So like downtime of production lines or recalibration of systems. You end up with a lot of systems that simply cannot be patched or not patched easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing is a patch needs to be available, and first of all, so you can actually roll it out, huh?
Yeah.
So if it's not, if you know of a bug and there's no way to patch it, then
then it also stops.
Yeah, or if the vulnerability is there and we don't know the 0 days, I mean that's
another one. Yeah.
Yeah. If we don't even know how the hacker will get in, and they know, because that's the problem, then. Okay. In the other group of the other reality check is about patches are scary.
Well, I would not say scary, but they can break things.
Yeah, therefore they're scary.
They can be really scary, and especially if you patch your crucial systems for your business.
Yeah, suppose I'm the national railway system, and there's a new patch for some systems that are in all the trains, and am I going to press the install button?
Hopefully not. No, but that's a good example. I think the biggest or the best example I can give was CrowdStrike. That was a patch that was released and automatically installed, and of course we know all how that went down. We did an episode about it, but that had a big impact. So I can imagine if you then, as CrowdStrike, would show, hey, there's a patch available, would you like to install, that people think twice. So that's a good example. We have lots of examples with Windows updates that causes problems. Recently, last August, we had a Windows update which updates the NDI systems within Windows, which is used for streaming services. And a lot of applications could not run after that update. For example, OBS, which is an open source video streaming solution. So that's an example. Also, we have seen updates that causes antivirus to stop working. So then you patch your system, but as an end result, you get less secure because your antivirus is not starting anymore.
What's your opinion on this? Is this lack of testing, or is it simply so complex, all the combinations of software that can run on systems, that it's impossible to
I think it's a combination, because it is complex. You have so many combinations, but it also means that it is really hard to test. So you can test scenarios that are out there, or that the biggest market share have, but in the end you cannot test everything. It's a combination. You cannot do it all.
Yeah, it's always the CIA triad, huh? Confidentiality and integrity. That for that you need the patches to be installed, but availability probably not.
No, if things run, then don't touch it. So that's what people often say. I would always say if things run, then you can improve them because you have a stable starting point, but that's not how it works for availability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's talk about how we can do it then, a bit about the solution. One thing maybe is if CrowdStrike back then, we covered that in that episode. Hey, why would you put a patch in your whole ecosystem all at once? And to be clear, that wasn't possible before in the CrowdStrike product. They now have installed it, and the idea is that first in 5% of your machines you do the update, and then half a day later or a day later you do it on the rest. Of course, there's a little bit of security that you lose then. But at least if something goes wrong, then it's not like catastrophic. Because then it gives you the idea within 24 hours, you have probably found someone who knows which button to press in the CrowdStrike management console to keep the update from spreading further.
Yeah, so that's one of the mitigation action, I would say. If you have a large batch of systems that you need to update, or maybe multiple critical systems, if there is an opportunity to do it in phases, I would always do that, because then you have always a fallback if things break. Maybe it's also better also for your uptime. So that's a good approach. So I think CrowdStrike is doing that now. They learned it the hard way. But you can also do it in smaller environments. So if you have multiple, let's say Active Directory is quite crucial for a lot of companies. If you can do it, don't patch them all at once, but just one by one, so the rest keeps running.
So then what you're saying is it's actually okay to not patch everything that has an update. It's safer, I get that, but it would also be our best practice.
I would even argue if it is safer. It depends. So one of the most important things, if you think about patching, is you need to know what you have and how it's placed within your architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a good example, if you have edge devices. So we recently saw a lot of problems with the Netscaler. They had a lot of vulnerabilities. Those you want to patch immediately. They're on the outside, so they have a really big attack vector. That means a lot of people can connect to it and try to abuse that vulnerability, exploit the system. So those systems you want to patch immediately. There's no question.
It needs to be a routine then, like a patch. You have a patch machine, like in a process.
You need to act immediately. We saw it, unfortunately, with a few customers here in the Netherlands, that even if you patch within a day, you might be too late. It was a 0 day before, but now it's open. Now even everyone is going to try.
But the crucial thing is you specifically single out certain systems. So the edge devices that have no other protection than to rely on the patch.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, we said in the beginning, if you have to rely on patching, you have already lost more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But there's simply no other way of doing it.
For the edge devices, there is not. But let's go back for Active Directory as an example.
Authentication system in the core of your network and shouldn't be exposed to the internet, probably isn't.
Yes. Hopefully it is not. And even within your internal network, you should only expose the protocols and, I would say the applications that you need. So, for example, LDAP is the protocols that's being used to see if a user can log in or not. That's exposed. But if there's a patch that patches a problem, for example, in the SMB protocol, which is the file server protocol, if it's not needed on your Active Directory and if you have not exposed it to your internal network, there is no rush to patch the system.
Yeah, but now this is a requirement that you mentioned, because I don't think that's the reality in most organizations, that the Active Directory is actually singled out in a network. So a firewall, that means that all other servers, when connecting to AD, do go over a firewall that forbids access on the SMB ports.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So you need to have a zero trust architecture already in place.
Yeah, zero trust architecture really helps here to lower the priority and
it's better than patching.
It's much better than patching, because you know the system will run. It's more of a static setup. So you know, okay, these are the protocols that needs to work. It's not only for AD, but you can do this for every server. The server has a purpose, has a certain set of protocols that are needed to communicate and to work. Shut down out or close off the rest. Hopefully, not only on the firewall, but ideally also on the system itself. That takes away a lot of need for immediate patching, especially if it comes to security patches.
I remember that we had, I will not name the vendor, but a solution that was in the authentication realm, and it was radius requests. and that software only ran on a very old version of Windows, and it was simply not available for the later versions. And there were no patches, so and it was buggy as it can be. So but the only thing we actually needed from a business perspective is the radius port. And so what we did is we just it was already in a segment, and it was for us it was easy, but we could easily validate that although this machine had thousands of known vulnerabilities, it was not in the radius protocol part. So therefore it was okay. And then but yeah, that's not. Often people say, yeah, but it's such a buggy system, we should really get rid of it. But it isn't really not for security purposes then, huh? I mean, it's always better to run current versions of everything.
I won't advocate that you don't need to patch at all. But the prioritization, you can, or you should, I think, play a lot with it, because there are so many patches now. And most companies have so many systems, they simply cannot keep up. You cannot patch everything, test everything all the way, all the time. And also patches might break things. We also already discussed about legacy support, or legacy without support. Do you want to patch them? And what then if things go sideways?
There's a lot of guidelines that you mentioned, but it's like a lot. Like you need to kind of be an expert in the field to decide, okay, this patch we do, or this patch we don't. Do you have like a guideline that you can follow, like or like a recipe that is easy to replicate that always works?
Well,
it always is. I know. I ask a technical guy about.
I think it will always work, but it will require a lot of work, and that's the downside here. But the first thing is you simply need to know what you have and where it's located in your network and how crucial it is. And that sounds very simple, but unfortunately for a lot of people, that's still a hard thing. Knowing what you actually have, how important it is, where it's located.
So if you have your e-commerce company, you probably have a what we would call protect service, that is the e-commerce website, right? And that's one thing, and probably your financial system, your HR systems, you need to make sure that you know where they are.
Yeah.
And then, because then, how do you get? How do you know whether a patch is available for?
So the second thing here is you need to have I would say this is also threat intel information, especially from a security for security patches. You need to make sure that you get the emails from the vendors, or have application maintainers keeping an eye out. Hey, this application can be vulnerable. For example, this e-commerce website. If there is a problem within the application, so within the e-commerce application itself, you probably want to patch that immediately, because you said, okay, this is our website, so that's publicly available. If there is a vulnerability there in the application, people maybe are able to purchase stuff without paying.
Yeah.
So that would then classify.
So you need to put effort in aggregating all the information from different sources.
Yeah. You have to.
It's quite similar to what we do in the Security Operations Center upstairs, of course, and that is indeed newsletters of vendors. It's also certain websites, certain channels on Twitter, for example. Those kind of things you mean. But so every organization needs to have that, or hire someone to do that for them. Then
correct, and then and I think you can do that to a certain extent, but you will.
I can tell you it's a lot of data. So
it's a lot of data, and especially so the generic updates, I would say, like a NetScaler, Windows, etc. They are available for everyone, so that's easy also for us to provide a customer. Hey, this one is really crucial. Please update. But a lot of companies also have internally developed software, or maybe niche software where we don't know of. So then they, preferably the application owner or the internal IT team, should really closely watch if there is any update for those systems.
Yeah, but you can make that infinitely more simple by, like we said, segmenting out an application. So you only need to do the protocols that...
You still need to monitor it, but then it's less crucial if you miss something. Because if you can, let's say it's zero trust or micro segmentation, whatever you want to call it, but you place your systems in certain segments with their own risk profile, then you can say, okay, this niche application, I only check every month for an update. Only this port is open, this protocol. So the chance that things go sideways or is being abused or exploited is really, really low.
Okay. Hey, and then let's assume that we have this stream of possible problems, of possible vulnerabilities that need to be patched. We send it to a mailbox, and the poor guy on the receiving end of it gets all those emails. Can we help him triage away? Do you have some guidelines for that?
Yeah, so I would try to classify the updates where needed. So filter out what's not relevant to you. You probably also get a lot of updates of systems you don't run. And once you have the updates that apply to you, you need to specify how important it is. That's the triage process. So the edge systems, patch them immediately. Then you probably have classified a couple of what we call protect services, but important systems within your environment as your crown jewels. So you should patch them, well, maybe not immediately, but quite quickly, especially if those vulnerabilities that are being fixed are open to the rest of the company.
You can see this in the CVSS score, huh?
Yeah, you have
a big help.
Yeah, CVS score is a good help, but also there is the known exploit. What was it? The key AF, I believe. But it's there is a list. If a vulnerability is out there, that you can see if it is if there is an exploit and if there is a known exploit for it. And if there is a known exploit, you really want to patch, because then the information how to exploit that vulnerability is out there.
Yeah, so someone will try it.
Someone will try it, and then of course there's still the difference if it is externally exposed or internally exposed, or maybe within your internal network not exposed at all.
Yeah. Okay, clear. Any other practical advice that we could give to our viewers on this subject?
I think the most important thing is forget about patching everything immediately.
Be fine with it.
And be fine with it. Yeah,
that could be a hurdle, like an emotional hurdle. Because you feel guilty, right? If you don't patch everything immediately, and then the next thing you know is it's impossible.
Yeah, unfortunately, we see still a lot of IT departments which have more or less the requirement that they have always everything patched, and that's simply not possible. You always find systems that are not that you simply cannot patch, or there's no patch available, or that you don't get support, or there are all kinds of reasons we already discussed. So leave that aside and focus on where it's really, really important, and make sure you have a good process in place there. And then also have a list of systems where it's not that important at all, or where you only take a look every quarter, for example.
Okay, clear. Well, thank you very much. It's nice to have some peace if you can't cope with patching everything, but there is work to do for every organization, more than a process level then. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And to our viewers, thank you as well for tuning in today. If you liked what you saw today, please like it, because then we can spread it further. And while you're in that area where you can do the likes, you can also press the subscribe button, and that makes sure that next week you will have our next episode right in your inbox. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Threat Talks, a podcast by Onto It Cybersecurity and AMS-IX. Did you like what you heard? Do you want to learn more? Follow Threat Talks to stay up to date on the topic of cybersecurity.